During a high school class project, my teacher told me it's unrealistic being a CEO. It's been my dream to be a CEO since I was 10. So I told her, it is realistic. Follow me on my journey to learn what it takes to become a CEO. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. Today I'm here with Joanna. How are you doing today, Joey?
I am great because I get to spend part of my day with you.
Thank you. I'm glad you're able to come on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The first question I want to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do here in your business?
Sure. So, the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts was founded in 1991 to make a difference in the lives of residents of our communities throughout the valley. We serve the communities in Hampshire, Hampden, and Franklin counties, and we raise funds and make grants and make a difference in the lives of our community to essentially create economic opportunity for all residents of our region to live full, satisfying, and joyful lives.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journeys, how you got to where you are today?
I could start when I had a paper route when I was probably 11 years old. The essence is it wasn't a lemonade stand, it was a paper route, but I will share that I was the only girl in Buffalo, New York, delivering the Buffalo Evening News. And the boys would say, You can't do that. You can't pull that wagon. You can't bike with all those papers. And I was determined, Mike. I said, Watch, girls can do just what the boys do. And that was probably the journey of my life that launched me to be the leader that I am today. Fast forward many years later, after going to Hampshire College, doing a master's degree in social work and other ventures in my life. And I was asked by an extraordinary entrepreneur named Harold Grinspoon if I would run his foundation as the executive director. And I was 29 years old and I had never been a CEO. I had never been an executive director. And I said to Mr. Grinspoon, what is it you want to accomplish? What is your mission in the world? And he said he wants to take all this wealth he's accumulated through his hard work as a rags to riches entrepreneur and put it into the Jewish world, making a difference in the lives of children and families locally in Western Mass, nationally, in Israel, and across the world. And he said, would you become my executive? And I said, yes. And at that point, I was 29. I had not been a CEO and an executive, but the partnership with an entrepreneur, my own entrepreneurial spirit, we were able to map the vision for the foundation and together for over 12 years, put that foundation on the map across the world and have gone on to other executive positions in my career where, again, as a woman, as someone who has always been entrepreneurial, I've been able to create partnerships and really move to make a difference in the world.
So how are you able to take the mindset of the little girl delivering the papers and all the boys are saying that you can't do it to now being able to be in a similar position of being able to control and actually help other people? How are you able to keep that mindset?
I think as a leader and as an executive, I now work with an extraordinary president. Her name is Megan Burke. I'm one of the vice presidents at the foundation. It's always been about creating trust and equity and abundance and partnerships. And as a woman, I have faced so many headwinds in my career. In that position that I mentioned with the foundation, there was a group of CEOs of all the major foundations, Jewish foundations and Jewish federations across North America. And because that was my job, I went to that table. I sat at that table. And you know what? There were one other woman, and there was no one under 40. At the time, I was under 40. So what did I do? I helped to change the charter of that group of leaders so that we could bring in other people, younger people, women. It's always been, since I was that 11-year-old girl, my mission to bring other women, in my case, and allow space for other women to really take risks and create and be empowered to bring their full self to their work and their purpose in life. So I've always carried that lesson with me that it's not only the doors that opened for me, like with Mr. Grinspoon. It's how do I then open those doors for other people to have the same opportunity that I've had in my career, in my life.
What is some advice that you would give to a young woman that wants to become an executive director of their own company?
I think my advice would be to trust your instincts and to advocate when you see inequity and injustice. And I think my other advice would be to seek mentors and to really look to find people who are a North Star leader, someone you admire, and really call them into your world and learn from other leaders about how they are executive leaders or they run their business or they're part of an executive team at a nonprofit like I'm privileged to be. So, really look for advice and mentors from others. I think the other advice, Mike, is don't be afraid to take risks. That just because no one's done it before doesn't mean that it's not possible. As a matter of fact, if no one's done it before, you're best seated. I was best positioned and best positioned to figure out how to do that. But that takes bringing in a team of people and nurturing the team and celebrating the team and putting your ego at the door, that it's really about together, each of us achieves more, is one of my mantras, which spells team.
How were you able to take what you learned as a 29-year-old executive, being the first time not really knowing what you're doing and being able to bring it into your position now?
There's a lot of years between then and now, and a few positions. And what I have learned along the way is that if you have passion for the work that you're doing and a really good business plan, all financials, all aspects of marketing, communications, the right team, you can achieve anything is possible. But you really have to have, first of all, you have to be passionate for what you do. If you wake up every day and say, I want to make this community a better place, or in my last position as part of the executive team with the trustees of reservations, I want to see conservation and preservation for all people in Massachusetts. If you wake up passionate, surround yourself with a great team, and really work hard and make sure to have joy in your work world, anything's possible.
How are you able to find that team that makes sure that you're able to stay on the right track?
First of all, who you surround yourself with and the team is one of the most essential aspects of being a good leader. That you can't lead if you're alone. Leadership is all about cultivating others. I have always believed that if someone has the right instincts and excitement about the work, that whether they have the exact work experience or that exact degree, that's less important than are they really energized by the opportunity to do that work. And that's been true in my hiring practices throughout my career. And a mark of confidence is to this day, I'm still close friends with people that I hired 20 years ago because it's about authenticity and really supporting people who work for you and holding each other accountable. Again, as a leader, I think there's a responsibility that comes with really making sure that we're doing the work every day and really looking at what the future of the business or the nonprofit is and staying true to that mission.
You keep on going back to on certain ways to become a good leader. So what is some of the advice that you would give to your younger self to make sure that you can become a better leader?
I think my advice is to have confidence in myself. Always make sure to surround myself with great people and lead towards the vision and the mission and the purpose of the business or the nonprofit, but from that place of trusting my own instincts and knowing that sometimes as an entrepreneur, there isn't necessarily that path. Sometimes you have to forge your own path. And I think from that young girl who said, you know what, I can get a blue wagon, I can paint it red, I can pull those papers. It's about trusting that I have what it takes to do that. And also, Mike, I would say when you see something that is inequitable, compensation, for example, women are often compensated less than their male counterparts. You need to advocate not only for yourself, but for other women or people of color, that it's not just looking out for oneself. As a great leader, it's about looking out for all those in our community or in the organization and really striving for that fairness and opportunity for myself, but really for everyone that I'm working with.
So, how are you able to stay confident and make sure that you stay consistent, even though there are gender barriers that you will have to break?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a degree of resilience and a degree of practice and a degree of what nurtures you. So, when I've gotten knocked down or realized that something was not equitable, it's easy to want to go right there and solve that problem. And I have learned in my career, sometimes you should take a step back and really say, like in the example I gave of why are there two women at this table, 40 people? And think first and compose yourself and say, this isn't right. I see this. But in order to change it, what has to be done to make that difference? And so then you find your allies. And one of my colleagues always says, and then you find your accomplices. Who's going to walk with you? Who's going to be your partner in the change you want to see, either in an organization, in a business, or out in the world? Because I don't believe that you can do it alone. I'd be very lonely and sad if I had done all this alone. You can do it if you have love and joy and people that believe in you and you surround yourself with that community.
I want to go back. You talked about you should have mentors. What are some ways that you're able to find mentors that are willing to help you?
That's a great question. I have always been fortunate in the organizations, the large nonprofits I worked for, and in the fields that I've been in the Jewish world, in the conservation world, now in the community foundation world, to find mentors who are doing like work across the country to me. So currently, when I joined the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts 2.5 years ago, my first position at a community foundation, I joined a mentor mentee group where people who've been in this position around the country longer than me became my mentors. And now I'm in a position that I can become a mentor to others coming into the field.
All right. So, what is some advice that you would give to somebody that wants to get into the community foundation?
My advice would be to get involved as a volunteer, as someone who connects with the foundation through our events, through our programs. Actually, one of my colleagues who I hired as the director of development at the Community Foundation, Nigel Greaves from the great city of Springfield, he was actually on our committee as a distribution committee member making grants. He got to know the foundation, and then a position opened up, and he applied for the position, and he has all the talents and was selected for the position. And one of those key elements was he was deeply committed and passionate about the work already, right? So when he joined us on staff, he was already an ambassador for the community foundation. So my advice would be, if you're interested in community foundation work, join us on a scholarship review committee or as a grant reviewer or on one of our volunteer committees and just start to get more involved. And then when positions open, you'll have an awareness of what the opportunities are. And we have a very equitable hiring practice. I'll just say that. But I do believe those who are coming in fully engaged are people who we want to join the professional staff of the community foundation. Yeah. And there are 800 community foundations around the country, so that goes for wherever your friends and colleagues are.
You talked about having passion about your work. How are you able to make sure that you're able to say, for example, somebody has a passion, but they don't know how to turn it into a career? How would they be able to do that?
How do you turn your passion into a career? I think it's a matter of an exercise that I have done for myself. What are you passionate about? What are you good at? And what organizations are doing the work? And if none exists, that you start that organization where you have the skills to do that work. So clicking that together, your passions and your talents, and then anything's possible.
What has been your favorite moment so far working here at the community foundation?
Oh my gosh. There are so many favorite moments. I would have to say my favorite moments are celebrating the success of the community foundation in the community. So, for example, we just had an event in September honoring our artists and arts organizations in the Valley. and the artists and the staff and the volunteers, we all put this together. And one of my favorite moments was at the restaurant in Holyoke after the event, Mike, when we went out and we celebrated that we had such a fabulous event. And it was because everyone contributed to making that possible. So taking that breath and that time to celebrate, that's probably one of my favorite aspects of working at the Career Foundation is we make sure to do that.
As the vice president, what are some things that you're able to do to make sure that the community feels welcome and like they actually are cared for?
As vice president, it's my responsibility that I work with a whole team of staff and volunteers, and we represent the community. So first and foremost, who we have hired, that I've had a role in, who I have helped with my colleagues to recruit to our volunteer committee, making sure that all of us represent the whole valley, from the north to the south, from the cities to the rural parts of our valley, making sure that we really are out and about in the community, at events. I see your dad a lot of events in the community, and really being part of the fabric of what we do in the valley has been really important to my role as vice president. This is not a sit in the office kind of job. This is a who are the people that we want to create the abundance and generosity, all of us, to support the very real opportunities and needs in our region.
What is your average day as vice president?
Oh, my average day starts with going somewhere in the valley, whether that's from Amherst to Springfield or Amherst to Shelburne Falls or somewhere in Holyoke, meeting with prospective donors, meeting with generous people who've already committed to the foundation, meeting with volunteers, helping people with thinking about their own philanthropic giving. So a lot of my time is really in small conversations with people about what they want to accomplish, and oftentimes, I end my day at a community celebration. So whether it's the A plus awards in Amherst this week or the celebration of Women of Impact in Springfield next week, often I try and limit it to 1 or 2 nights a week, but often I'll end my day at a gathering or a cocktail party with all the estate planners in the region, as that's part of my job is really to represent the foundation and to celebrate in the community.
What are some ways that people are able to help volunteer at the community foundation?
There are many ways to volunteer. I'd say the easiest way to get involved is as a grant reviewer or a scholarship reviewer. We have over 2.3 million in flexible funding grants that we award every year through our foundation directed grant making. That process involves dozens of volunteers and staff. So that's the best way to get involved if someone just has a little bit of time and they want to touch a toe and they want to get a sense of what the community foundation does. We also have community members who are our scholarship reviewers, and that is over 1,000 people every year receive scholarships from the community foundation, and it is a partnership with our community reviewers and our staff to make those decisions about who receives those scholarships every year. And then there's boards and there's the board of directors and board directed committees once somebody is already touches a toe and wants to get more involved. There's other ways to get more involved in committees and the board of trustees.
In my book, Realistic CEO, Tony, he talks about the LBW, the long, lonely, born work. Can you tell us about the long, lonely, born work that you had to take to get to where you are today?
There's a lot of long, lonely, boring work. It's often called administration, and it's really important. And I would say you have to find the time of your day or your week when you want to just do that work. Payroll, for example, you have to approve everybody's timesheet, make everything in, process a payroll because people are working because they also want to earn their living. So I think that what I try and do with that work is find time to do that because that's like the foundation of the work, making sure that the business of the foundation is running smoothly. That's really important. That's not the external snazzy stuff. That's the internal important to find that time in your day and your week to do that work.
How does it make you feel when you know that you're helping the community and that they can appreciate the fact that your whole organization is there to support the community?
How does it feel? It's pure joy, Mike. I feel so blessed and privileged to do this work of the Community Foundation. I really do. And that's been true of my work in conservation across Massachusetts, in the Jewish world locally and globally, making a difference in the lives of people. It motivates me to wake up every day. And our valley is special. There are so many talented people, and there's so much that is joyful and beautiful about the valley. And there's inequity, and there are real grit issues. And so I wake up every day jazzed to be with everyone and celebrate, but also to do the hard work of really making sure that everyone has access to opportunities to go to school, to find a nonprofit that is helping our new Americans or helping people with food security or helping artists find grants to really do their work, the less resourced artists and arts orgs in particular. So for me, it's waking up every day and knowing that my time here on the planet is like Harold Grinspan used to do this. He'd say, "You get limited time on the planet. You have to figure out how to spend your days so that you're really making a difference while we're here." So I wake up every day really energized about our work in the Valley.
You talked to us about how your favorite moments and how you enjoy your work. So what are some like the challenging parts of being the vice president?
I think the challenging parts are an impatience with finding the abundance and the resources, the capital to support all of the opportunities in our valley. I'll give you an example. We just launched a fund for arts and creativity, $5 million goal to sustain our Valley Creates program. And I love to just raise those funds. The challenge is that it takes time. Everything takes time. You have to find people interested and passionate and help them to channel their resources and their abundance to this. I think one of the greatest challenges is marrying the resources with the opportunities and the challenges and bringing that home so that more students can go to school, so that more opportunities exist for more people. So I think that's one of the greatest challenges is that there are very generous people in our region. There are also ways that I'd like to help to encourage others to really dig deep in that generosity so that more people have access to more opportunities.
As you're very busy. So like how are you able to have a work-life balance?
First of all, I have found it's about work life integration. Yes, we all need balance, but I think when you think of the ecosystem of life or even the ecosystem of the environment, it's about finding time and space for solace and rejuvenation. I liken it to the winter. Like the plants need the winter because they need time to rejuvenate and to then come back fully nourished in the spring and spring buds. And so for me, I have to purposefully live my life and make sure to take time out in nature, take time to go listen to an artist perform, take time to read a book. So for me, it's about integrated life and work and finding space to really live fully and really accomplish my work fully. And it's not easy. I think that's the biggest challenge for entrepreneurial leaders like ourselves is you have to rejuvenate. You have to find time for me, for yoga, for meditation. If you don't do that, there's this thing called burnout, and it's real. And it's real. And especially for those of us who have headwinds. Like I mentioned, as a woman leader, that's a lot of emotional labor when you notice something is not fair. You have to really invest in your own health and wellness. My own health and wellness has been very important.
You talk about burnout. How are you able to make sure that you're not getting to a point where you do feel burnt out?
I've had a few career moves under my belt. At each one, I have learned even more so how to make sure to foster time for rejuvenation. And here at the Community Foundation, we have embedded that in our culture so that everyone has a week called Rejuvenation Week, regardless of vacation and all those good things. It's been very important to me as a leader to make sure not only that I take the time to rejuvenate so I don't burn out, but that I pay attention to all those I'm working with and support people to take space and make space. And some days that means dabbing out when there's been a really hard week and And the other little secret is I have this, it's like a 12-hour rule. You leave an event at 8 o'clock. I don't want to see you for 12 hours at least. Like you need time to wake up in the morning and get your family off to school or take your dog for a walk. So, also being very mindful as a leader that I lead by example. And if I leave an event and I'm on email and I'm bugging my colleagues, they're going to feel like that's the norm. So, pacing and as a leader, being very respectful and mindful of how my energy and my behavior is important for me, not to burn out, but also to support the colleagues who I work with and surround myself with.
As a leader, how are you able to make sure that the work environment is a positive and safe place for your employees?
Oh, that's like a whole nother podcast. I think the people and the culture really matter. And at the Community Foundation, we have invested in a vice president for people and culture who's my peer. Together, all of the vice presidents, Denise Hurst, Brianna Wales Thaxton, Shannon Gurrick, and myself and our CEO and president, we've created policies and practices here that really are about diversity, equity, and inclusion, starting with our own workplace and modeling those policies internally, like I said, about just self care and making sure we have rejuvenation and vacation and holiday time. And then that affects how we work in the world. So I've been able to really bring my skills, but work within a culture that is committed to all of our employees. And I feel like everyone is more productive because they show up. We show up as our authentic selves every day to work. And we know that our contributions are valued and we have the time for people to really rejuvenate and take care of themselves.
You talked a little bit about the hire process. So I want to go a little bit more. How, when you're looking to hire people, what are some important characteristics that they need to have?
I think in hiring is the most important aspect of any CEO or leadership. Like I said, you hire the wrong people on the bus. It doesn't matter where you're going. In the contrary, if you hire the right people on the bus, doesn't matter where you're going, you're going to be successful. So hiring, I would say, is one of the most important pieces of being a leader. What I look for is passion and experience in the work that they will be doing and the skills that people need to do, as well as the cultural fit. So at our foundation, we're looking for people who have the talents and the job skills and the experience and also the commitment, in our case, to the culture of the foundation. So it's a holistic approach to hiring. It's not just you have this BA and this MBA and therefore you get that job, right? You might have different experience that actually is relevant to this job. And we believe in investing in professional development once you join the community foundation so that if you don't particularly have a certain skill, but you have other experience that's transferable that you bring into this, as well as lived experience. I really look for people who have, if it's a development position, experience in the community, in outreach, in engagement, in event management. They might not specifically have development experience at some institutional experience per se, but they have all the talents to become successful in that. And then I do believe in nurturing people along the way and investing in them to stay. It's not just about hiring. You hire great people and they can lead. It's about nurturing and really maintaining talented people along the way.
The last question that I want to ask you is, what's one fun fact about yourself that nobody really knows?
Oh, goodness. One fun fact. You got my paper route. I think the other fun fact is early in my life, I spent some time in Zimbabwe, in the city of Harare in Zimbabwe. And I was doing HIV/AIDS education research and community based theater work. This is in my 20s. And I learned so much from that experience of living with a family in the city and the joy of the children and listening to Shona in a different language every night. And I feel like the fun fact for me is that my love of travel and in being in community, that experience really has shaped my whole life. And I'm still very close with my family in Zimbabwe and look forward to going back.
Actually, I really got one more question. But what is it about helping the community that just is so important to you? Because like throughout your whole life and all your careers, you're always helping. What is it about helping people that you just so much?
I think for me, Mike, I have a spark that's about making a difference in the community and with people I love. And philanthropy means pick Greek or something Latin, I don't love of humanity. And I have always felt that I have something to give back to the community, and I'm fortunate, blessed really to be able to do that. And that's been my life's work.
Thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it. It was great. I learned a lot because I did understand what you guys did, but like you were able to really break it down and help me understand what you guys do a lot more. And your thought process in how you able to get to where you are today was thank you. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And you are such a fabulous CEO. And as I said, really give me hope for the future of our city and our valley and our country. And at a moment like this that we are in, it's about the future. So I'm really grateful to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. One last thing before we end it. I want to thank you guys all for all the support that you guys have been showing in the past couple months. I do appreciate it. So what you guys can do to even help me even more is by you guys can go onto my website, realisticCEO.com, where you can buy merch, which is the shirt that I wear in every podcast episode. You guys can wear the same exact shirt as me. And I also have my pants. You can also buy the book I am a CEO, realistic CEO in the store. And the last thing that you guys can do to help it even more is by donating. And what you do with donate it, it helps me be able to bring the books into schools. And I also read the books to the kids inside the schools. Thank you guys for watching this episode. See you guys in the next one. Peace.